We just witnessed something that should terrify every American who still believes in sanity. New York City, the same city that once stood defiant after 9/11, just handed its Democratic primary to a radical who once flirted with Hamas sympathies and is now one step away from running America's largest city. This is a Democratic blueprint for the rest of the country to take notice. You'll see who's really pulling the strings, what it signals for the future, and why reality may be the only thing that saves us as a country. We're not just talking about one radical winning an election. This is about an entire political party walking away from the foundational values that hold a civilized society together. We're talking about white progressives with trust funds literally colonizing working class cities and installing their pet radicals. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So, if you like our videos and you haven't already, you should become a subscriber to the channel. You can hit that notification bell and smack the like button because it helps us get our message out to more people. Also, tomorrow night, we're doing a live stream. Friday nights at 6 o'clock Eastern, we always do a live stream. Everybody in the chat has a great time. You should join us. It's a lot of fun. So, let's talk about what just happened in New York because, frankly, nobody else seems to want to address the elephant in the room. We're calling this a political earthquake, but that's being generous. This is more like watching a civilization decide to delete itself in real time. Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani just won the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City with 44% of the vote. Now, in New York, winning the Democratic primary is basically like being handed the keys to the city. And who exactly did New Yorkers choose? A guy who can't bring himself to condemn the slogan, Globalize the Intifada. This wasn't some narrow victory where he squeaked by on a technicality. No. Mamdani demolished Andrew Cuomo. Yes, the disgraced former governor who somehow managed to be the more reasonable option in this race. Now think about that for a second. Andrew Cuomo, with all his scandals and baggage, was still the better choice than what Democrats actually voted for in the city. It's like, welcome to the fall of globalism and the rise of elite-approved civilizational collapse. That's where we are right now, guys. And if you think this is just about New York, you're not really paying attention. Let me paint you a picture of what actually happened here, because the mainstream media certainly won't. You remember 9/11, right? If you're old enough, you remember exactly where you were when those towers came down. You remember the skyline burning. You remember the unity that followed. Where was real unity across America? You remember when New York became a symbol of American resolve against terrorism. Remember how they started calling Rudy Giuliani America's mayor because of how he calmed the city down and how he handled the fallout from the towers coming down? Well, congratulations, Democrats. That New York City is officially dead thanks to you. We've gone from a city that stood as a global symbol of courage and resistance to terrorism to a city that just elected someone who sympathizes with terrorists. In just a few short years, New York has fallen from defiance to capitulation, and the speed of that collapse should frighten everyone. Now, here's the part that's really going to make your blood boil. Who exactly voted for this guy? Was it the immigrant communities who understand the real-world consequences of bad governance? Was it working-class families who need safe streets and functional schools? Not even close. Not on your life. You might not believe this. Mamdani's strongest support came from white progressives. You know the type: purple hair, trust funds, and absolutely zero real-world responsibilities. The same people who love socialism from the comfort of their million-dollar brownstones, the avocado toast aristocracy, if you will. Meanwhile, Cuomo actually won in the Black and Hispanic communities that have to live with the consequences of these terrible policies. Think about the irony there. The communities that would actually suffer under Mamdani's radical agenda were smart enough to vote against him. But the wealthy white liberals who can insulate themselves from the chaos by building walls and having security around their properties, they were all in. Chicago went through pretty much the same thing when white rich progressives elected Brandon Johnson, while at the same time the working class minorities voted for stability instead. And check out Chicago today. It's a war zone. Crime is skyrocketing. Businesses can't leave the city fast enough, and families are escaping as quickly as they can. This isn't progress. It's an ideological coup led by trust fund revolutionaries who treat socialism like a status symbol and treat rising crime like it's beneath their zip code. These people are literally colonizing working class cities and installing their preferred radicals. They used to call this gentrification when I was growing up, where the status of a community rose because wealthy people moved in to rebuild everything. But this is far worse for working class families, because when everything falls apart, guess who suffers? It's not the people who have butlers. Oh, they'll just move to the next city and start all over again. So what exactly is Mamdani promising these useful idiots that are voting for him? Oh, you're going to love this. His platform reads like it was scribbled on a dorm room whiteboard at 2 a.m. during a particularly intense philosophy major's breakdown. Government grocery stores. Free everything for everyone. Can you imagine your local supermarket becoming the DMV? So many people will be trying to get in that you have to stand in line so that you can finally get into a room where you can sit down and wait for hours. And by the time they call your ticket, you walk into the store and mostly everything's gone already. That's what they just voted for in New York City. They also voted for frozen rents regardless of market conditions and punishing taxes for anyone who actually works and contributes to society. It's a fantasy wish list designed to attract young people who are old enough to vote but too stupid to understand basic economics. And they have this thing where they're trying to frighten billionaires enough to leave the city. That's madness. I never got a job from a poor guy. And who's going to pay for this socialist paradise? Not the elites who voted for him. Not the mimosa-sipping crowd safely tucked away in their gentrified neighborhoods. Like always, it'll be working-class families in the Bronx and Queens who get stuck with the bill and have to live with the consequences of the nonsense. And if you think AOC is going to help these people after the outcome, then it truly is amazing how the mind of an idiot functions. These are what we call luxury beliefs. They're ideas that sound brilliant when you're brunching in Brooklyn, but they leave working-class neighborhoods in absolute ruins. We've seen it time and time again. You can only afford to believe this nonsense when real-world consequences never touch your doorstep. Now, let's talk about who this guy really is, because his background tells you everything you need to know. Zohran Mamdani, who was born in Uganda, came to America, the land of opportunity. He got an education, prosperity, and a political platform that most people around the world could only dream of. And what does he do with those opportunities? He's made an entire career out of attacking the very country that handed him everything on a silver platter. This guy is basically what you'd get if progressivism grew a beard and decided to run for office. He's loud, he's bitter, and he's completely allergic to gratitude. And here's the really scary part about what's happening to the Democratic Party. They're not even trying to pretend anymore, guys. They've completely abandoned any notion of workable governments or broad appeal. They've stopped trying to win hearts and minds through reasonable policy proposals. Balance means nothing to them anymore. It doesn't matter. Competence is irrelevant. Seriously, how else do you explain AOC? All that matters now is throwing red meat to the loudest, most unhinged parts of their base. It's pure political theater designed to generate applause from people who will never have to live with the consequences they create. But they feel less guilty about being so wealthy while the people around them suffer in poverty and misery. And that's why failing parties who do this, who reach out to the worst of the worst within the parties, always wind up supporting the 20% out of an 80-20 issue. And that's what we see right now coming from the Democratic Party, is it not? This is what happens when a political movement starts to show signs that it's falling apart. It trades reason for ideological purity. Think about that. The party wants you to act like the woke supremacy here. You agree with the collective, no matter how outrageous they become. And you can't reason with anything you may disagree with that is believed by the collective. It stops being about actual leadership and turns into performance art. And that show always ends the same way, with real people getting hurt. But here's what should really keep you up at night. The general election isn't until November. There's Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo. He's staying in as a third party. Curtis Sliwa, the great Republican in the race, plenty of candidates who could potentially beat Mamdani. So maybe he loses, right? Maybe sanity prevails in the end. That's not the point anymore. The damage is already done. We've been seeing it for some time. This is just a culmination, this election. The Democratic Party revealed exactly what it stands for now, and it's not pretty. This primary wasn't about tax policy or subway funding or crime on the streets or any normal municipal issue. This was a referendum on whether we hold on to basic societal values or let everything unravel before our eyes. And you can feel it happening, can't you? Can't you? We're being forced to choose between reality and delusion with all the woke crap that we went through, between civilization and chaos. That's the line that we're drawing now. If Mamdani somehow wins in November, New York won't be the only casualty. The rest of the country will see exactly what's coming for them next. It'll be a live demonstration in how quickly socialist policies collapse under pressure. Empty grocery stores, rising crime in the streets, tax hikes that force working families to flee. All of it will be impossible to ignore. And maybe that's exactly what America needs to see so that they don't fall for it when our media and academia types support it to the hilt. You know, Abraham Lincoln once said that sometimes the best way to get rid of a bad policy is to enforce it strictly. Let people experience the full consequences of their choices. Did you ever notice that these crazy things only happen in blue-run cities? You don't hear of Republican cities collapsing because of idiotic policies. Now, you know who really nailed what all this means? J.D. Vance. Our vice president saw right through this whole charade and called it exactly what it is. J.D. Vance tagged Mamdani as the new leader of the Democratic Party in a post on the liberal replacement for X, Blue Sky, that was equal parts congratulations and trolling. And honestly, he's not wrong. He wrote, "Congratulations to the new leader of the Democratic Party." What Vance did was put the Democratic Party at a crossroads. They can either defend this circus act that they've created, or they can admit that their party has completely been hijacked by radical lunatics. There's no safe middle ground anymore for the Democratic Party. This goes way beyond one mayoral race in one city. This is a reflection of what kind of country we're becoming, and the battle lines couldn't be clearer. We're watching in real time as one political party abandons everything that made America work, that made America great. They're choosing ideology over reality and chaos over order. But if there's any silver lining in this disaster, it's this. When America finally sees this madness for what it really is, when crime starts surging, when the taxes pile up, when everything starts falling apart, they will return to strength, to sanity, and sovereignty. Because reality always wins in the end. Always. And when it does, the American people will remember who stood for civilization and who cheered while it burned. The choice is ours to make. 2026 can't come soon enough. And I think between now and the midterms, the American people will witness the decay of blue cities like New York and decide how they're going to vote. All right, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.